Rabbids may not have many games compared to IPs like Mario and Sonic. The ones that they do have can be interesting or unique. This list will be based on how fun and interesting I find each game to be. So with that said, let's get to it. Any Kinect game is always going to be at the bottom of my lists. Rabbids Alive and Kicking is a game that somehow takes an already hit or miss formula and makes it worse. This is easily one of the worst Rabbid games out there. And that's saying something. The game is built entirely around the Kinect, which should already be a red flag, because if there's one thing we've learned from Kinect games, is that they barely function half the time. In a game full of fast-paced, movement-heavy minigames, that's a recipe for disaster. But at the same time, it can be a bit hilarious. You're supposed to jump, dodge, and interact with Rabbids in various ways. But good luck getting the Kinect to recognize what you're actually doing. Half the time it just doesn't work, leaving you awkwardly flailing around while the game barely registers your movements. It turns what should have been a fun, wacky party game into an exercise in frustration. And even if the controls did work, the minigames themselves just aren't fun. They feel uninspired, repetitive, and not even the Rabbids humor can save them. Unlike Rabbids Go Home or older games, there's no charm, no creativity, just a bunch of poorly executed ideas slapped together. Or maybe there's some creativity if you do what my friend did on this minigame called Salmon Rush Day. You're supposed to swim for like 2 minutes in this Robo-Rabbid's piss to get to the end, but my friend was using a technique he saw on some Instagram posts and it actually worked. We were laughing our asses off after this happened. But besides that, this game is proof that not everything needs motion controls. For a party game, this is only worth it for the laughs. So basically like Sonic 06. But if you're looking for a good time with the Rabbids, literally play anything else. You know, when I think of a game based on a TV show, I at least expect something interactive and fun. Well, this kinda is fun. It's barely even a game. It's just an excuse to make you wave your arms at the screen while pre-recorded episodes play in the background. But even so, I find this a little better than Alive and Kicking. The whole gimmick is that you watch episodes from Rabbids Invasion and occasionally do little motion-controlled activities, like point at different objects, mimic the cutscenes in different poses, and even scream into the goddamn mic. But the problem is that this is so shallow and pointless. You might have to mimic a pose, throw something at the screen, or even answer some random question, but none of it feels meaningful. It's like the game is just desperate to keep you engaged because it knows you'd rather just watch the show normally. And of course, since this is another Kinect game, the controls barely function half the time. Good luck getting it to recognize your movements properly. This honestly just feels unnecessary. And you know what else feels unnecessary? This. What else goes on with the Rabbids, because I just don't know how the fuck to describe this. If you like the Rabbids Invasion show, just watch it. There's no reason to play this unless you want to be hearing this. For a game with coding in the name, it's not going to be what you expect at all. This is an educational game where you use code blocks to move the rabbit to the washing machine. I remember playing games like these when I was in elementary school, but I don't remember the names of them. So unless you're like 7 or younger, you may like this. Have you ever played a game that feels like it was just made to fill a quota? It's Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party on the DS. The console version had crazy motion controls and weird TV-themed minigames. As for the DS version, it was stripped down with dull touchscreen gimmicks. The controls are stiff, the minigames feel repetitive, and the humor practically is non-existent compared to the other Rabbid games. It's not the worst, but when a Rabbids game lacks fun or chaos, the fuck's even the point? It's forgettable and barely worth playing. Compared to better handheld Rabbids games like Travel in Time or even Rabbids Go Home, this just doesn't cut it. That's why it sits this low for me. When you hear Rayman Raving Rabbids, you probably think of wacky minigames and crazy rabbit antics. But the GBA version is a completely different beast, and not in a good way. Instead of a 4-player party of chaos, it's a 2D platformer. Sounds cool, right? Except it's slow, clunky, and painfully generic. The level design is repetitive, the combat is basic, and the rabbits barely matter at all. It's like they were slapped onto a random, uninspired platformer. It's not broken, and it's definitely better than some other rabbit disasters. But when a game has Raving Rabbids in the title, you expect energy, creativity, and chaos. This game has none of that. It's not unplayable, but it's forgettable. Better than the worst, but is not even worth your time at all. Not terrible, but not great either. It just kinda exists. Just like Rayman Raven Rabbids TV Party for the DS, this also has a bunch of stripped down minigames. Again, not broken, but it's nothing special. There's some fun to be had with the minigames, but most of them are really just forgettable. It at least feels more like a Rabbids game than the GBA one, but it still lacks the wackiness and energy that makes the best Rabbids games stand out. It's playable and mildly fun at times, but it doesn't do much to stand out. One of those games that never really shines. It's stuck right in the middle of C tier for a reason. The game mixes traditional Rabbids humor with a collectible battle system. You use your Rabbids to fight against other Rabbids, which might sound fun in theory, thinking it's like Smash Bros, but no. It's held back by repetitive gameplay. The 3D graphics are decent for this system, and the animations capture the usual Rabbids madness, but the controls can feel a bit clunky. The battles themselves feel pretty standard. Think card-style combat without the complexity. It's easy to get hooked, but the novelty wears off fast. The humor's there, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. While the 3S's capabilities give it a bit of a flair, it's not enough to elevate it beyond just okay. Not a bad game by any means, just a little too repetitive and shallow for me to call it anything more than a time killer. Rabbids Rumble has some potential, but it's one of the most forgettable games to exist. It's far from perfect, but compared to the GBA version, it's a step up. First off, the DS has actual 3D graphics, making the world feel a little more alive. The GBA version with its flat, uninspired visuals just can't compete. This adds a bit more depth with Rayman getting different costumes that give him new abilities, making the gameplay more varied. The GBA version was just basic and didn't give him any of that. This makes this game look and play better. The graphics are cleaner, the animations are smoother, and while the level design is still repetitive, it's at least more engaging than the GBA's flat, lifeless stages. Unless you're playing something like Wario Land 4, then it's a banger. The combat isn't perfect, but at least Rayman has more moves and abilities to work with. The GBA version's combat just felt stiff and not very fun to use. And while the DS version doesn't still capture the full chaos of the Rabbids, it at least keeps some of their personality, unlike the GBA version where they barely matter. Overall, the DS version tries to be more than just a stripped down version from the GBA. It has its own identity, even if it's not the most exciting one. This is completely different from the Wii version, which is what they did for most of these handheld ports. Instead of roaming around a city collecting stuff, this is a puzzle game where you're just helping a rabbit reach the washing machine, and it surprisingly works pretty well. You control two rabbits solving environmental puzzles to collect junk for their ridiculous plan, but what I mainly see them trying to reach are just toilets. It's not as wild as the console version, but it has its own charm. While the puzzles are creative, the levels can feel very slow-paced, but it still captures the rabbit's humor in a different way. It's not a must-play, and it doesn't have the same energy as the best Rabbids games, but it stands out as one of the better handheld adaptations in the series. It's fun and unique, but it just doesn't reach that high as the best Rabbids games. This is actually a pretty solid Rabbids mobile RPG. It's an Apple Arcade game, so you'd have to be paying monthly just to play this. But even so, it embraces the Rabbids' wacky nature while offering a unique gameplay twist. This is a strategy card game where you have to hop through different dimensions, battling it out against different Rabbids and obtaining different champions. This actually gives this game a stronger sense of humor. The levels feel more dynamic and the gameplay loop stays engaging. The only flaw I find, however, is that some of the sections can feel repetitive, and it's not polished as the best Rabbids games. But it's still a fun and creative take into the series. This is one of those games that I saw when I was younger and didn't really try it until now. It's not one of the best party games, but it's fun for what it is. This one decided to take the board game approach, similar to Mario Party. Players move around the board competing in minigames and challenges to collect the most trophies and make it to the middle of the board to win. The minigames are pretty well designed and make a great use of the Wii U's gamepad. Some involve asymmetric gameplay, where one uses the gamepad while others use Wii remotes, adding a fun and strategic element. But my only gripe with the minigames is that there's only like 20. Mario Party and Rabbids games had way more than this. There's still humor to be had, but not as much compared to earlier and crazier Rabbid titles. The big downside is that there was no real online play when the network was available and lacked overall content. This may not be the best party game out there, but Rabbids Land is one of the more creative and well-structured Rabbids games. I don't know what the emphasis is on this compared to Rabbids Land, but I prefer this more just because of the larger variety of minigames. This is where the Rabbids truly made their mark. Not quite a top tier, but it's a fun and chaotic party game that deserves credit. This was when Ubisoft introduced the world to the Rabbids and gave us a minigame format that works surprisingly well. The minigames are creative, hilarious, and engaging, which make great use of the motion controls. While some can be a hit or miss, there's a lot of variety. The humor is a huge highlight. The Rabbids' over-the-top antics, ridiculous screams, and absurd situations make it one of the funniest party games of its time. Multiplayer is where the game shines. Playing with friends makes even the weaker minigames more enjoyable, and the competitive and cooperative modes keep things interesting. The two drawbacks, however, is that some of the motion controls can feel unresponsive, and a few minigames drag on for too long. But the later Rabbids games refine the formula with smoother gameplay. But still, the game started off the Rabbids' rise. Rayman Raving Rabbids is a classic. It's fun, wacky, and packed with personality. This takes everything from the first game and improves upon it. The sequel builds on the crazy, chaotic fun of the original, refining the gameplay with even more creative minigames that make better use of the Wii's motion controls. This time around, the Rabbids antics are even zanier and the minigames are more varied and exciting. There's better pacing this time, and the humor remains spot on, with the Rabbids being as absurd and unpredictable as ever. It keeps you laughing and engaged. Also, you can pick different countries to go to unlock different minigames, which are also themed depending on which country you go to. While this improves on the original, it doesn't quite reach the same level of innovation as later games in the series. And a few minigames can still feel repetitive. But even so, the experience is still more refined with tighter controls. It's a more consistent and enjoyable experience, making it stand out in the series. This is probably where Rayman goes through the most hell. Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party is one of the better Rabbids games. It's fun, wacky, and packed with variety. The TV theme gives a ridiculous but unique twist with minigames parodying different TV genres. From action shows to commercials, the Rabbids' chaotic energy fits perfectly. The motion controls and multiplayer make it a great party game. While some minigames are a hit or miss, there's enough variety to keep things entertaining. Visually, it's colorful and captures the Rabbids' humor well. The soundtrack and sound effects also add to the ridiculous TV feel. And speaking of TV, how do the Rabbids even get stuck in it? They were chasing Rayman to his house, got struck by lightning while also somehow getting caught through Rayman's power antenna, making their way through the cables and into his TV. Where did they get this idea from? Because it's just so f***ing random and hilarious. You need to complete 7 to 8 minigames to get through each day, which cues some of these cutscenes that are fun to watch. When you get through the final day, Rayman's at his last straw because the Rabbids interrupt his football game he's watching. So he loses his shit and chucks his foot at the TV, accidentally freeing the Rabbids. And when he gets to the credits, you hear Toxic by Britney Spears being sung by the Rabbids, like, what the f***? I'm not playing it because I don't know if I'll get a copyright strike or not, but this is just hilarious. This doesn't reach the top tier Rabbids games due to some repetitive minigames and occasional control issues. But overall, TV Party is a solid entertaining Rabbids game that delivers multiplayer chaos. One of the stronger party games in the series. It's fun, polished, and has a unique theme that helps it stand out. It takes inspiration of Chinese mythology, which gives it a refreshing setting compared to the usual wacky Rabbid antics. The visuals are vibrant and the presentation is top-notch. The minigames are well designed, offering a good mix of skill-based and chaotic challenges. They feel more polished than in early Rabbid party games with better pacing and variety. The multiplayer is where it shines as usual, making it a great choice for a party game. The mechanics are easy to pick up and there's a nice balance between accessibility and challenge. Party of Legends is one of the best Rabbid party games in years. This stands out as one of the best handheld entries in the series. The game takes a fun time-traveling twist with the Rabbids, causing chaos across different historical periods. The levels are creative, and the platforming is solid for a 3D game. The visuals are bright and charming, and the humor is wacky as ever, keeping the game very engaging. The addition of 3D effects and well-designed levels make it feel like a fully realized experience. And while not flawless, it's a massive step up from the early Rabbid handheld entries. Rabbids Travel in Time 3D brings a great mix of fun gameplay, humor, and solid design. The 3D version is still great, but the Wii one has better graphics. It excels with full motion control, delivering more immersive and chaotic gameplay. The story is the same. The Rabbids travel through history, and each time period offers a variety of creative challenges that make great use of the Wii's capabilities. Compared to the 3DS version, the Wii version feels more polished with a richer set of minigames, more engaging environments, and better overall pacing. The multiplayer experience is also far superior, with more players getting involved in the action. The humor is on point as always, with the Rabbids causing mayhem across different eras. The levels are vibrant, and the game feels more varied and polished overall. overall. While the 3DS version is solid, it lacks the same level of fun and creativity. It's more limited in scope, and the controls aren't as immersive or satisfying as the Wii's motion-based gameplay. This game feels more fun, more chaotic, and a better overall experience. This was a random idea that came out of nowhere. Nintendo and Ubisoft decided to do a crossover with the Rabbids. When I first saw the trailer, I thought this was a shooter game, but when I saw actual gameplay footage, I found out it was an RPG. I wasn't into RPGs back in elementary school, but I played it and I actually enjoyed it. Rabbids traveled to this house, made a ruckus, and stole this headset. It started shooting things with it and fusing Rabbids with other objects, leading to Mario Rabbids being made and accidentally shooting their washing machine, which is a time machine. They got themselves transported to the Mario universe, and the Rabbid with the headset was accidentally turning Rabbids into bad guys, which led to some random ass characters being born like P-Rabbid Plant, Rabbid Kong, Blizzy and Sandy, Calavera, and even Wario and Waluigi. This RPG is unlike any other one I played, besides the sequel of course. You can position your characters in specific spots and plan out which attacks and skills you want to use. I struggled to finish this game, and hell, I still haven't beat it yet because I'm stuck on this Bowser Jr. fight. This boss is a pain in the ass. Jr. moves whenever you shoot him, so you want to keep your distance as far as possible, because if he gets too close, he'll deal a fuck ton of damage on you. But besides that, this is a nice game that's worth trying if you're curious. My friend was telling me that this was one of the best Rabbid games in the series, and in its own ridiculous way, I can agree. The story starts off with a rabbit in shorts and another one in a thong. Were they about to get down to business? Like, what the f***? They gaze at the moon and come up with an idea to make a pile so big that they can reach the moon and live on it. Yeah, much better than getting help from NASA. So they start off making their pile in the junkyard and head to the city to collect more stuff. Because of this story, this game is just a random ass collect-a-thon. You control two rabbits pushing a shopping cart to collect a bunch of stuff from cones, to cans, water, toys, creatures, people, their clothes, and even dogs. My god, this is so f***ed up. With the storyline and objective this simple, it adds a fun layer to the experience. And the feeling of pushing a shopping cart through obstacles and picking up junk is strangely satisfying. This may be just a single player experience, but this game is just hilariously brilliant and is definitely a must play. Brilliant. Just brilliant. This refines everything that made the original so great, it made it a much better experience. The tactical combat system is the star of the show. It takes everything that worked from the first game and adds real-time movement, which is so much better than being locked to a grid. This allows for a more fluid and dynamic approach in each battle. The depth of strategy is truly impressive, giving players a wide range of choices to tailor their playstyle. The expanded roster of characters is fantastic. Mario, the Rabbids, and new additions like Edge bring unique abilities that offer endless possibilities for team composition. Each character feels distinctive, and the synergies between them make for some incredibly satisfying combos. And what's funny is that the Rabbids actually talk now. It's mostly just the first few words of their sentences, but Beebo and Genie have full-on voice acting. But here's something I always question. Sonic games have full-on voice acting, so why don't Mario games do besides those old PC games? Visually, Sparks of Hope is a treat. The game is vibrant and full of charm, with gorgeous environments that take you through diverse worlds. Every new area feels fresh and exciting to explore. The humor remains as fun and quirky as ever, with Rabbids adding their signature chaos to the Mario universe. The addition of sparks that grant you new abilities adds a rich layer of strategy to the gameplay. They can drastically change the flow of battles, and the variety of sparks lets you experiment with different tactics for each challenge. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is a phenomenal sequel, and it improves upon every aspect of its predecessor. From the tactical depth to the vibrant world building and unforgettable characters, it delivers an engaging, fun, and strategic experience. In my opinion, this is easily one of the best Mario RPGs and the best Rabbids game. For what these games are, most of them are kinda and really enjoyable. Let me know what your opinions are down in the comments. And with that, I'll catch y'all later. Peace.